Long ago, when the world was bright and full of stories, an evil wizard gained the power to touch the face of God. Narrativa, goddess of stories and weaver of our world, banished him to the void, but not before he stole a piece of her divine essence. With this newfound power, the wizard lay a dread curse upon all the world, the Glyph Purge, which struck from the minds of all mortals the knowledge of how to read and write. Now, all that stand between the Isle of Meotia and an age of endless ignorance are the bards, who tell stories of distant lands, exotic creatures, and brave heroes. This is one such tale.
Hello there, and welcome to yet another episode of the latest and greatest Dungeons & Dragons podcast to hit the internet airwaves, challenge rating 0. I am Sam, the Dungeon Master, and I'm surrounded as always by my longtime friends and adventuring companions.
Hi, I'm Brian. I play Hector the Gatekeeper.
Hey, I'm Beth. I play Rilla, the elf. I don't know.
That's a new intro. It's
Sure.
cool. And last but not least, we have the man who calls himself Michael, but who we call Parker. Michael Parker playing the druid Zurabak. Say hello, Parker.
Hello, Parker.
Fantastic. When last we left our heroes, the three of you, Hector, Rilla, and Zurabak, had accompanied the bard Sebastian Weaver through the Briar Marsh to get antitoxin for the beleaguered town of Bramble. You've just returned this antitoxin and gotten your reward of 600 shiny gold pieces to share between the three of you from Mayor Pike, the leader of Bramble, along with his thanks. But you didn't stay long to soak in the heroic afterglow of your first adventure, because you got another job. You have met the ancient, powerful arch-druid Gator, a 10-foot tall alligator that talks with the voice of men. And Gator has informed you that they have discovered in their time here as one of the most powerful creatures in the Briar Marsh an ancient tome of some interest. This has been gathered, collected, and safeguarded by Gator. It is the reason that Sebastian Weaver came down here to meet Gator in the first place. Gator has informed you that this book has been sequestered in their lair. However, Gator also informed you shortly after you all leveled up and took a beat to recover from your last adventure that the trees have told Gator that there's been an infiltrator. Something has broken in to Gator's lair, and you have all decided to just make haste to Gator's home. So we begin today's episode in the Briar Marsh again. Ugh, I'm so tired of the setting already. It's so spiky and wet. Why don't I even make it? You guys in the Briar Marsh, the three of you have just leveled up. You are standing next to the bard Sebastian Weaver, who is nervously wringing his hands and dancing on the balls of his feet in anxiety over the potential of losing this book. And Gator towers over the lot of you, staring at you with human intelligence from lizard eyes, and says, all right, let's get going. If there's someone breaking into my lair, I'll have to show them a thing or two. All aboard. And Sebastian scrambles up on top of Gator's back. Do you all follow suit?
I do so gleefully.
I guess I make sure the raft is parked properly.
You put your special raft lock on it. You wrap the chains around it. You find a nice street lamp.
You didn't trust it in town? You weren't? You were afraid someone would take it?
Have you seen those people?
They're a desperate lot in Bramble. You never know what they might get up to. Yeah, you get your you get your Viper car lock going on your raft. Boop boop. And once that's locked up, you guys all scramble onto Gator's back. Once again, Gator utilizes their ancient, powerful druidic magic to transport you all rather quickly through the bark of a tree. You all clamber onto this great lizard's back, and Gator walks directly into the trunk of a tree, its bark rippling as you all make your way forward. And
This time I move back on Gator so that I'm like in the midway point between the tree for as long as possible.
Gotcha. So as the flesh of this tree ripples over all of you, surrounding you with white light and a rushing sound in your ears,
No need for a balance check. You just do it.
I'm not like I'm not standing.
He's slowly moonwalking on Gator's back to stay just at the very corner of that void. Yeah, boy, it's a trip, Hector. I tell you, you're seeing into two worlds, one extra dimensional. But eventually, eventually, all of Gator's form, along with all of you on Gator's back, passes through this large tree. You all find yourself in a blank white space with a rushing sound in your ears for precious few moments, and then just as quickly, you are all deposited back into the dank heat, the buzzing mosquitoes, and the ever-present sense of menace of the Briar Marsh. You are in a completely different part of it. This is a part, Zurabak, that even you have never been to in all your years living in the Briar Marsh. You are in a place full of old growth. There are trees towering everywhere, enormous trees taller than any you've ever come across. There are gigantic roots sprouting out from the ground, changing the landscape into this really crazy, unstable mass of uneven clumps of shrubbery, tough roots, bits of soil, and water. There are ponds, lakes, streams. There's a million different tiny pools, all filled with this stagnant, brackish black water that you've come to expect from the Briar Marsh. Everything is still covered in thorns, every tree, root, and bush, but you make quick time over all of these obstacles as you ride astride Gator's back with your own small menagerie of pets, the snake, the cat, Rutherford, and the dog known as Book. You walk for only a few moments, and then finally Gator comes to a stop beside a very wide, very still pool. She says, "Well, the entrance to my lair is hidden under this pool of water. I've got many defenses inside that should keep our prize safe from whoever's broken in. There's special pollen I use to mark my friends when they happen by. It doesn't happen very often, but once we get inside, I'll dust you all with this pollen, and the defenses within my lair will know to let you by unharmed. Just hold your breaths for a moment. This is going to be, well, fun for me. Hold your breaths." And Gator charges forward and plunges head first into this pool of water. And you are all completely submerged, soaking wet, grabbing onto the slick scales of this enormous alligator as it plunges directly into the water.
How badly does Rutherford claw me?
Rutherford clings to you incredibly hard.
I just had a cat get soaked in water, though. So
Yeah,
how
no.
fucked up am I?
It's It mauls you, but thankfully your sturdy woodland garb is able to stave off most of the hurt. You do absolutely get some scratches. It does not feel good. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Rutherford hisses terribly. Dog is not super stoked. He tries to doggy paddle, or Book, forgive me. Your dog, named Book, is not super stoked about this whole thing. It tries to doggy paddle a little bit, but then it just, follows suit. And Sebastian's just panicking completely the entire blah, 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 mouth open, air bubbles flying out of his mouth. Blah, 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 blah. And you all find yourself underwater, clinging to Gator's scales as it moves with its powerful, enormous tail like a rudder just slashing through the water, driving you forward. And eventually you find underneath this giant pool a yawning cave mouth set into the stone under the surface of the water, which Gator is heading directly towards. And after precious few moments, with you all desperately holding on to your breath, you head into this cave, and Gator swings up dramatically, almost throwing the lot of you, and you find air. Gator hauls itself up onto a stone lip, and you find yourselves in a completely different environment. You look around, and the air is cool and still. There's moisture in the air, but it's not the oppressive, heavy swamp heat you've grown accustomed to. And as you look around, you see a very dark and very massive cave. It's hard to see very far out into its greatest depths because of the size of it, but the feel of it gives off this sense of incredibly enormous space. Let's see. Gator's lair is this giant cave. It's a damp place, water dripping from thick tangles of moss that dominate the ceilings. This moss lies thickly in every corner, coating the stone of the cavern in sheets of verdant green. Stalactites and stalagmites thrust into this vast expanse. In many places, the floor and ceiling meeting in towering stone pillars. As you look around a little bit and get your bearings, you see that this place, at least the portion of it that you're in right now, is dimly lit by a small circular pool that seems to be made of raised stone. It's spreading a dim light amongst the entry to this large chamber, and as you look, you can see different vistas, landscapes, roiling across the surface of this pool. You see cracked, dry earth with tumbleweeds. You see soaring mountain peaks. You see gigantic frozen tundra just rippling across it. From this dim light cast by this small circular pool of water, you see none of the trappings of a typical dwelling. There is no furniture. There are no tables or chairs, no cookpots. There is a series of shelves against a far wall that seem to be formed out of the stone of the cavern itself. Rare herbs and ingredients are piled upon them. This place seems perfectly sized for Gator, who moves around this gigantic cave very casually. You all feel a little dwarfed by the size of it. Hector, I think you'd be used to this growing up in Giant's Rest, the home of the Gatekeeper clan.
Indeed.
Yeah. But Sebastian clambers up out of the water, shakes himself just like Book does, actually.
As do I.
As does Rutherford. Yeah, you all shake yourselves off real good. And Sebastian says, "Oh, my. Well, this is quite the lovely living space. Very, damp. Yes, rather damp, wouldn't you say?"
Not enough mosquitoes.
Yes, I hope that somehow we'll survive without the mosquitoes.
Why do you like mosquitoes, may I ask?
They're useful.
Okay.
Might I say your stalactites are really stunning.
Well, that's very kind of you to say, Hector. I appreciate that. I've been working on this cave for countless years. I found it a long while ago, and it's been my private sanctuary. I've hand-molded bits of it and let the rest sort of develop on its own. Let's see. So as Gator is telling you this, you guys are looking around a little bit. Zerback, you notice with your eyes, your
Just
keen,
my eyes?
yeah, only your eyes see this. Only your eyes pick this up. Your keen half-orc eyes, with the dark vision on them, you're able to pick up that these big masses of green moss that are just like sort of growing thickly over the ceiling, over the walls, against these stalactites and stalagmites. These giant patches, like snowdrifts of green moss, are moving a little bit. You just barely make it out. Your companions don't seem to notice it, but they are every once in a while shuffling around a bit. You see a few tendrils lashing out lazily as you gaze upon them.
I ready my stick to poke them.
Gator sees this and says, "Oh, Zerabak, don't you worry. These are my guardians. These are come here, sweeties. Come here. Come on." And you see about 6 different giant clumps of this green, wet, glistening moss get up on these legs made of vines and tendrils and shamble over to you guys. These massive piles of moss And Zurabak, you've been here long enough to know that these are shambling mounds. Incredibly powerful plant monsters that whip and rip apart anything that gets too close. You know that these would be very good guardians for anyone's home base. So about 6 of these giant things approach. Sebastian looks very, very nervous and stands a little closer to Hector, because imprinting. And and Gator says, "All right, let's see. There should be more of you here. I guess someone really has broken in. I guess we'll have to figure this out. Well, first things first, let me grab that pollen that'll keep you all safe from the rest of my defenses here. If you be dears and just go over to those shelves, there should be some pollen right over there." Who does the honors of walking over?
I go to the shelves.
All right. Hector wanders over to the shelves. You start looking at, a bunch of plants you've never seen before. Why don't you roll me a nature check to see if you can figure out which one you should grab.
15.
Okay, so you spot this like neon yellow, this blazing yellow pile of dust that is like faintly held or just barely contained in some like wrapped up leaves, and you reach out for it. And as you do, there is a tremendous cracking crash, and you feel a powerful rush of wind right in front of your face, and the entire shelving, all of the shelves shatter into dust right in front of you as soon as you reach out to take this. Roll me a reflex saving throw.
19.
Okay, fantastic. You are able to deftly throw yourself out of the way, and you don't suffer this horrible crushing blow. As you throw yourself backwards and sort of get your bearings, Hector and the rest of you all see what caused this horrible crash. There is an enormous tail covered in neon green scales, this burning emerald that has lashed out and smashed this entire shelving unit and is now slithering back slowly to a place behind all of these stalagmites that you can't see. And you start to hear heavy breathing from deeper off in the cavern, and you smell the cloying stench of chlorine gas fill the chamber. And Gator says, I suppose we've found our intruder.
I grab my maul.
Is that the dragon? What is that?
As you say that, Rilla, you hear, I see you've brought my meal right to me. I'll have to thank you for that. I didn't realize once I found my new home that I'd have food brought right to my gullet. And behind that, behind those stalactites, you see an enormous shadow move, more massive even than Gator. Its form reaching up into the ceiling that's still beyond your sight, and a green scaled head the size of a wagon on this graceful long neck looms over your entire party. Bright yellow eyes flash with a dark, sadistic cunning. A toothy grin smiles at you with teeth the size of long swords. A gigantic frill starts at this thing's head and travels all the way down its back. Small hornlets are over its eyes. This is, yes, the massive green dragon that you all saw earlier that snatched up that hippo carcass when you were fighting the hillbillies. It has somehow found its way into Gator's lair, looms down all of you, says, I remember these morsels. It's been a few days I think I'll toy with you first. As he looms over you, Gator throws themselves between all of you and snaps their giant gator jaws closed right in front of this dragon's face. Says, "You have broken into my lair and you've insulted my guests. You'll have to pay for that insolence. You can't just move into any lair you want. I built this lair, and you've done quite well. I appreciate your efforts. If you leave now, I'll take your offering and let you go in peace." Sebastian is fucking green himself. He looks sick. He's twiddling with his gloves, pulling them on. "Well, you know, if you got here first, maybe we could just get out of here, right? That wouldn't be bad." What do you guys do?
He wants to eat you, Sebastian.
Yeah, well, I certainly don't want that. That's not good.
That will not happen today, I say as I grip my maul and look at the dragon that can definitely kill me.
As you look directly up, craning her neck all the way up at the dragon. It's like,
I know it's called D&D, like Dungeons & Dragons. I was not expecting a dragon at level 2.
"Aw, come on. You weren't expecting a dragon in a dungeon? This is what we're doing, man. This is the juice." So yeah, this dragon looms over you and Gator says, "Get out of here." This thing rears back and sucks in an enormous breath and says, "Well, if you won't leave on your own will, I'll have to expel you." And belches out this giant roiling cloud of green acid that rolls over the space between you and this dragon. Just as it does that, this wall of 6 gigantic, shambling mounds, these piles of green moss that move around of their own volition, form a wall between you guys and this dragon. They take the brunt of this whole cloud on themselves. You see the vines and roots that make them up start to wither and turn brown. Their mossy bodies start to wilt immediately. Gator turns around and says, "All right, I think my guardians and I can buy you some time. Now, without that pollen, I can't protect you against my lair's defenses, but you'll have to get down there and grab that book while I distract this rude old one. You'll have to go quick. I'll hold him off for as long as I can, but you must get that book. If it's what I think it is, that's the key to everything. Go quickly!"
We will not disappoint you.
Yes, we'll run quickly away from the dragon. Yes, absolutely, that's what we'll do, yes.
Come, friends.
Into danger we go.
Away from danger, technically.
Into more danger. We're not protected, man.
I'm here. We are protected.
Boom. So you guys rush off. Gator roars as its fucking defensive line of shambling mounds wilts down to nothing, and just as you turn a corner around a large stalagmite, you see behind you Gator lunge forward and snap its powerful jaws around this green dragon's neck, and boy, did they start a rumbling.
Sebastian, maybe you should stay behind and watch and tell me about it later.
Maybe I should stay behind and not get the book that I came halfway across Miosha to get?
We'll get the... fine. I just want to know what happens when a giant alligator fights a dragon.
As much as I'd like to chronicle what happens when a giant alligator fights a dragon, Hector, for that would be a grand tale, I'd also not like to be crushed by whatever happens when a giant alligator fights a green dragon. Let us away!
The two outcomes are... either it kills the crocodile and we die.
Gator, please.
Gator, excuse me.
We owe Gator that much
Excuse me.
respect. Please,
Gator.
Rilla.
Excuse me. Kills Gator and then we die when we come back out of here, if we live. Or it doesn't. And we can leave and then Gator can tell us about the fight.
Always the pragmatist, Rilla. Let's be on our way.
I was running while I was saying this.
No, I mean, yeah, you're all running. This is all... let's be on our way. So you guys book it. You weave your way through a forest of stone pillars. There are giant stone spikes hanging down from the ceiling, stone spikes coming up from the ground, and just gigantic pillars connecting the roof. The roof spirals upwards into depths you cannot see. The lighting gets dimmer and dimmer the farther you get in, and the farther away you get from the small viewing pool that was providing light in the entry chamber. What are we doing about light, you guys? It's getting real dark in here.
I cast dancing lights.
Yes! Spells and shit!
I mean, I'm fine.
Magic! Yeah, Zerabak's half-orc eyes are fine. His people come from a long lineage of hanging out in pitch black darkness.
I have a torch, but it's wet.
It is!
Yeah.
It is wet. Great, so Rilla casts dancing lights. What's that look like, Rilla?
Do you want me to read the
I
description?
want you to tell me what it looks like when Rilla Longshadow casts dancing lights. We're building a fiction here, man. What's up?
Like super fey. I don't know. She's an elf, so like glowing green lights come casting out of her, or blue. What's more ethereal?
That's entirely up to you, man.
Let's go with green. I'm liking how that will make us all look sickly.
Okay, so Rilla weaves her hands and casts, drawing upon her.
I think it's 3 of them. Is that right?
It's 4.
It's 4?
So you
It's 4.
draw upon your inbound sorceress abilities, the arcane magic that flows through your blood, and you call forth 4 glowing green orbs of light which hover around the party, swirling around you as you all make your way through.
I
or
learned
not
this
swirling.
right before we came here, you guys. Look, isn't it cool? Isn't it cool?
It's very cool. Wow.
Zerback shrugs.
Is that flameless torches floating in the air?
Yeah.
Nice.
I'm certainly impressed. So these lights flicker on around you, lighting your way, and the second you get this light, you immediately have reason to quicken your step, as there is a horrible rumbling sound behind you that's getting louder and closer, even as you all run through this forest of stalactites in this giant cavern. You hear a sound like bum, 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 and the stalactites closest to you start cracking and fracturing as you see Gator's enormous form get flung right across your path, not 10 feet behind where you've last placed your own feet, and is just thrown through like a dozen of these stone columns, many of which detach right above your heads along your path. Everyone roll me reflex saving throws to avoid these giant falling stone spikes.
Is it verse poison?
It is not. It's versus giant
Critical.
falling stone spikes. Nice. Hector the Gatekeeper, like a fucking running back out there. Dodge, dodge. Rilla Longshadow, what'd you get?
I got a 6.
Rilla Longshadow, the graceful elf archer, beefs it hard. Yeah. And Zerabak the druid, what'd you get?
15.
15. That's pretty good. So Zerabak and Hector, you're fine. And Sebastian and Rilla, boy, do they get hurt by falling rocks. You're each going to take 6 points of damage from falling rocks. So some stalactites come down. Zerabak, you're able to dodge out of the way of these along with Hector. You guys just sort of barrel through and avoid some of the bigger chunks. Rilla, you are on a dodge trajectory and you trip over a big clump of moss. It's incredibly slick. You trip and slip a little bit, and a big rock just cracks you right in the side of the dome.
So that took more than half my damage, just as an FYI. So
Yeah, no, I mean, it's
pretty messed up.
Yeah, these rocks are heavy.
Rocks hurt.
Yeah.
It's real bad.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Rilla is bloodied. Rilla gets just cracked right in the dome by a big fat rock. It hurts. It's not good. There's blood trickling down the side of your face. There's a kaiju fight right behind you. So the ceiling is cracking and shaking. But after you guys are able to dodge or get hit by this, you find the entrance to a smaller tunnel, an opening in this cavern, and you race across and get into the relative shelter of this thin tunnel. And there's still growling and thudding and a huge cacophonous tumult behind you as you make your way in. And you all rush inside. This tunnel is, again, pitch black, no light entering this place except for Rilla's dancing lights.
Which I think go out about 100 feet, right?
They can, yeah. If you want to send them out there to scan, cool. So you send them out, and it's roughly hewn stone tunnels. It seems like a very natural cave. No tool has touched these walls.
Hey, I know we're in like story mode here, but can I
Yes.
cast spells as we go?
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool, I cast Mage Armor myself.
Bitchin'.
Cool.
That's a very good time to do that, yeah. So Rilla casts Mage Armor, which looks like what again? You get like a golden sheen around you or something?
Yeah, like for a minute there's like an outline of it and then it just fades.
Awesome. So you get an outline of golden dope-ass armor and then it fades away. Again, pulling on your sorceress abilities. So you all rush into this tunnel with this tumult behind you, and you keep booking along your merry way. Sebastian keeps falling behind a little bit and then like pumping his little legs furiously coming after you guys.
I grab Sebastian and I pick him up and I keep running.
We're going to call that Formation Alpha. That's what we're going to call that because I feel like that might be happening a lot as this narrative unfolds.
Describe him by the scruff of his clothes.
Yes, absolutely.
Carry him like a football.
Yeah.
Pretty
I
much,
also
yeah.
cast that on Hector because I can cast 2 level 1 spells. So
Nice.
yeah, that just seems like a very useful thing to give our tank a little bit more AC.
Cool. So you cast Mage Armor on you and
Thank you.
on Hector. Is that all of your level 1 spells?
No, I have 5.
Oh,
so
man.
I got 3 more
Awesome.
for later.
Very cool. So
And it lasts 2 hours now. So I'm a level 2 character.
So as you guys are rushing down this tunnel, lit by the sickly green glow of these dancing lights, Rilla weaves magics as you're on the go, encasing herself and Hector in this magical armor coating. Hector, by the way, just for narrative thing, you just got a spell cast on you, bud. How's that feel? Weird? Cool?
Both.
Awesome. So after you run about 50 feet, the path forks off into 2 different directions. Both of these tunnels are obscured by hanging roots that seem to be punching through the solid stone ceiling of this chamber. Just these hanging roots, sort of like one of those awful like curtain bead doors, but they're blocking off the view of either one of these tunnels. Sebastian goes, "Oh, excellent, a fork, and no directions provided by our rather harried host. Which way should we go?"
I think that the only logical solution would be to split up.
I think that's a terrible idea.
Yeah, me too.
I agree. We should split up.
It's how you die.
Yeah, as a dungeon master,
It won't be how I die.
As a dungeon master, obviously do whatever you want. Sebastian does not think that's a good idea. But yeah, what do you guys do? The ground is still shaking a bit.
So we're
beneath
looking
your
for a
feet.
book. Did she say anything about where it was kept?
The book is in the. Gator told you the book was in the depths of her lair.
Can I roll a, I don't know, search or survival? See if there's.
I would love for someone to use one of their skills to try to figure this out. Absolutely. Roll a search check to see if you can find any clues to where you're supposed to go.
We're all gonna do it now then, right?
Oh, are we? Oh, are we gonna apply the rules of this game to this scenario?
look for
15.
I got a 21 on my search.
Damn.
I want to look for tracks that indicate that one direction is more frequently traveled.
Sure. So you all roll search checks to look for any sign of where to go.
10.
Okay. Hector, the floor is made of stone. It's crazy, dude. It's a stone floor. You've never seen... No, you've seen a bunch like it.
Well, we were running
Tracks.
when we got here.
You
Sir,
live
Tracks
at a-
aren't
you lived
always
at a mountain.
imprints. Sometimes tracks are footprints.
No, I'm
so-
saying your roll was so...
okay.
Yeah, mediocre that you noticed that the floor is made of stone. It's neat. Zurabak, you're able to pick out that some of the moss bunched up in the corners of this particular tunnel has been disturbed recently. You can tell it's been moved. Rilla, you can tell with your keen elven eyes. Your elven eyes! You can tell that there is...
You're really focused on our eyes right now.
I am. I really am. I mean, you know, it's important what you see. You can tell that there are little tracks. There are tiny tracks heading to the left with the moss that Zurabak noticed was disturbed. He looks down and says, oh, this moss is disturbed. And you can see that there are a bunch of tiny tracks heading down that hall.
Hey, Hector. What animal makes those tracks? And I point them out to you.
Also, Zurabak yeah.
I mean, which one of them has that? I don't know, really, I guess. Never mind. Good.
I mean, you're all pretty barbarous motherfuckers. I assume all of you are kind of good at woodcraft.
Zurabak is probably better at identifying specific creatures.
It would be a knowledge nature, so whoever has knowledge nature and would care to roll it, feel free.
Okay.
I
I don't.
Fantastic.
roll it, but I don't have
You
9.
I rolled a 3 and got 11.
okay.
Okay, so for future reference, ask Zurabak.
Yeah.
All right.
There are shocker lizard tracks heading off to the left. That's what I said before, right? The left.
Yes.
Yeah, there are shocker lizard tracks heading off to the left. They're very tiny. There's a bunch of them heading in the left hallway. That's the only tracks or signs of anything you can see. And as you're looking at these tracks, again, the ground underneath you is starting to shake, and a small cloud of like chipped stone and rubble starts to like puff into the hallway behind you. Which way do you guys go?
To the left.
You guys go to the left. You follow the tracks.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, everything we
Because I
have
don't want to get hit by another rock. We go.
in the path to the
Because I'll
left.
die.
Okay. So you guys head down to the path to the left, and you part the curtain. What's the marching order, by the way? What order are we going in?
I'm the fastest, so I feel like I'm going first.
Sure. So Hector.
No, I mean I'm
What's
Literally
Did your speed like
40 feet.
Yeah, he's a barbarian. They go faster in this version. So Hector goes first. Who's next? Who's last? Hector's holding his fucking.
I'm very weak, so I want to be protected. Would you mind if I took the middle?
That's
Zurabak?
fine.
Cool.
Okay, so Hector
That
up
feels
front,
about
Rill in the
right.
middle, Zurabak.
Zurbak's probably not running. He's probably a light jog. Let's be real.
Got an elf sandwich. Great. So you guys head down the left passage following these shocker lizard tracks.
Prefer an ice cream sandwich, I think.
You part this curtain and make your way down the hall, and you get maybe 10 feet down when you are met with a small pool in an equally small chamber. The entire floor of this small chamber is taken up by this pool, and it looks like a little terrarium. There's a little slabs of stone with gentle green moss growing on it, a few roots hanging down from the ceiling, a few bits of log, and a few like native plants growing in here. And the whole place is also completely fucking chock full of shocker lizards. They are these tiny blue-skinned lizards with long antennae on their heads, and you see bits of electricity going up them like electrodes in a Frankenstein laboratory, and you all skid to a stop, going directly towards these shocker lizards whose tracks you decided to follow, and they all look at you and start to shake simultaneously, electricity arcing between all of them.
Can I roll a wild empathy to make them stop it?
You can absolutely try to roll a wild empathy to stop these shocker lizards from electrocuting the shit out of
I
you.
set down Sebastian and I position myself in front of both Sebastian and Rilla.
Thank you.
Meat shield, deploy!
And I slowly draw my maul.
You're always slowly drawing or like brandishing your maul.
When do you put it away, really?
When running while holding a gnome
They
was
start as indifferent.
happening.
Yes, they do.
Have to be within 30 feet. Takes a minute.
Oh shit, it takes a minute?
Yeah, so this would be initiating it.
Yeah, but you can just pop off, like, with the penalty, you can pop off. If for those of you that don't know, a round in Dungeons & Dragons is 6 seconds. That's
No,
how
I
long
can't.
it takes for everyone to do one turn. So 1 minute would be 10 rounds of combat. You can't, these guys are charging up. I don't think you can use your wild empathy to calm down armed and charging shocker lizards That would take a little too long. If anyone's got a snap move they can do.
Oh, but it may take more or less time. It says usually a minute.
Yeah, go. I mean, if you're trying to convince these guys that you're not a threat, go ahead and snap it off. You're a druid. You're from here. You smell of the wild. I'll let you do that. Go ahead and roll a wild empathy check.
It's a 20 altogether.
You rolled a 20 altogether?
I rolled a 19 plus 1.
Okay.
Unless I have I have my druid level. So that's 22.
Damn.
Nice.
Holy shit. Nicely done, dude. Yeah, so you guys walk into the... you find shocker lizard traps, and you follow them down this hallway. It's like, that's probably the way to go. And you get to the shocker lizard pool, and all of these shocker lizards start, these cute, adorable, just these adorable, cute little blue skin lizards all start shaking, vibrating, and crackling with electricity that arcs around all of them, forming this crazy zigzag of blinding white light. And then as Hector throws himself in front of Rilla and Sebastian to be the meat shield, Zurabak just shoulders past you and does what? What does this look like?
Shake my fist angrily at them.
Oh, man. That's a shitty thing because it worked, too. That's a shitty thing. Zurabak walks forward and shakes his fist at the shocker lizards and stares them down with a deep, powerful stare full of the old ancient magics. He communicates with them on a primal level that neither of you can really tap into, and they all visibly calm down immediately. They all sort of power down and chill out.
I am their king now.
Well, let's not get carried away, Zurabak. It was a very good job, but maybe let's go down the other path before the ceiling caves in, yes?
Your Grace.
Zurabak nods.
We go the other way.
Fantastic. So after Zurabak expertly disarms that trap, holy shit, nicely done, Zurabak. I was going to shock you guys real bad with that. You all turn tail and skedaddle. As you get back to the fork and start heading down the other direction, you hear a horrible cracking, booming sound from the room you just left. And you hear this stone-splitting crack. The ground shakes under your feet, and you hear a bunch of squeaking from these shocker lizards, and you hear the green dragon's voice say, "You cannot hope to win against the might of the great Kesk. I will flay the skin from your Ow! Ow! Psst, psst, ow! What? Psst, what manner of Ow! And you guys keep running.
I have much pride in my citizens.
I think that's the longest sentence you've ever said.
Agreed.
So you guys take off running. Eventually you get to... You're sprinting full blast or lightly jogging, whatever your character would do. And as you're making your way down this hallway, the correct hallway, not full of shocker lizards, you turn a corner, this hairpin turn down this cavern, and suddenly you all find yourselves standing at the very top of a ramp that is completely covered in slippery, wet moss. You guys come on it. Suddenly, everyone roll me reflex saving throws to not fall down this fucking ramp.
Rilla might die. Oops.
18.
Ooh. 21.
Is it versus poison?
It sure is, and it's against slippery moss and falling.
17.
Okay. Yeah, you're... Let's see what Sebastian gets. Oh, he's
I'm
good.
holding Sebastian.
You are, but he's a slippery one. He exfoliated before he came out here. He's fully moisturized. So yeah, you guys round this corner, and you suddenly find yourselves looking down this very steep slope, just plummeting down into the depths of this cavern, and the walls and floor are lined with incredibly slick moss. And you all stop. You Hector comes to a full stop, bracing himself against the walls. Then Rilla smacks into him, and Zurabak smacks into Rilla. And you all sort of just for 1 second. You are dangling Sebastian over this pit, and then you right yourselves, and you all stand solid. The ground still shaking, and cacophonous roars coming from behind you. Sebastian says, "Well, It's a very good thing we didn't fall down there, but that does look like the only way forward. What are we to do?
I shoot my lights down 100 feet.
Okay, you shoot your lights down 100 feet, and you see that it is very good that you did not fall down here. At the end of this slide, the slip and slide of moss, is a giant weave of incredibly thick spikes, like spiny branches and thorns.
How big?
So you're looking at like a 10-foot by 10-foot shaft leading almost like steeply, almost directly down, and at the bottom of it is like a wall taking up the whole shaft of spikes.
Is there any space that is not spike covered if we didn't go down the ramp? If this is the way we have to go.
It looks like the entire end of this ramp is just like blocked completely by an unbroken wall of these like spiky things.
Okay, well here's the thing. I have feather fall.
Yeah.
So I'm talking about is there any way we could launch ourselves to not spikes?
You could slowly fall onto it without hurting yourselves, yes. If you're not coming at them at a fucking cannonball run, then yes, you could. That would be the perfect time to use that spell, yes.
Okay, so I asked for everybody's rope, and we tie some rope together so we can get back up this thing.
All right, I have 50 feet of rope.
We need
What
if
is
it's
this
100
rope
feet.
you speak of?
Okay, so I
Sebastian's
tie.
got rope.
Cool.
I love rope. Sebastian reaches like shoulder deep into his backpack, his tiny gnome backpack, and pulls out like human-sized bundle of rope. Far too much to be in there. And slaps it on the ground.
Cool. So I have 3 first-level spells left of feather fall. So someone has to hold Sebastian,
Feather fall is an
right?
area of effect
Or is it's
spell.
area effect? Perfect.
Yeah.
I haven't looked it up. All right.
Yeah, it
Cool.
affects everyone around you. So you guys tie yourselves to each other.
I wanted a way for us to get back up the ramp.
So
So I want
gotcha,
to
right. So
have
yeah,
an escape route.
You find a stalagmite hanging out from
Yeah.
the side, from the bottom of the cave floor. You tie a rope off to it. You throw the rest down there, and you guys just
yeah.
jump off this bitch.
I cast feather fall first.
Yeah,
Then
awesome.
we jump.
Rilla Longshadow. Very spellcasting heavy episode today. I like it. Rilla Longshadow summons up her sorceress powers and says, "Trust me," and then falls backwards like a fucking skydiver off this little rocky promontory, and just falls like a sheet of paper in the air, just smooth sailing. And you all take off after her, yes?
Yes.
Yeah.
probably.
Yeah. So you all jump off, and your animals jump off too, or you're holding them. Rutherford's chill. He's just like, Rutherford's
yeah.
like upside down, just like clawing
He's
at the
used
air.
to this.
Yeah, he's done this shit before.
Yeah.
Book is having the wildest ride of his whole life. He's been underwater. There's a dragon after him. He's floating in the air. It's crazy. So yeah, you cast Featherfall using your sorceress bloodline to just defy gravity, and you all slowly and gently, like sheets of paper, fall to a nice, calm stop on this, what is this weave of spiky vines and thorns. It covers, it lies in a sheet at the bottom of this shaft, and you guys come to a very soft landing on it, not suffering any harm, and it surprisingly bears all of your weight. It's a pretty dense sheet of these vines, and it's blocking your way down. What do you do?
I swing at it with my weapon.
Cool. You swing at it with your blunt hammer. Anyone else?
I look for the way out.
I slash it with my longsword.
That works too, and a
Yeah.
little better than a blunt weapon does.
My weapon's big, and I'm very strong.
It is. Zurabek, you look for the way out, and it's through these vines. And your friends start hacking at it, and you get through it very quickly. You slash with your sword, and Hector just takes chips out of the goddamn walls with his hammer, just like bink, bink. You guys Minecraft your way through this pocket of resources, and you, the floor underneath this sheet of thorns and vines is like a 5-foot drop down. So you guys slash and hack your way through this. You touch ground on the floor with your rope trailing down, and you continue on. You hear again, as you make your way past this obstacle, another horrible crashing rumble. A couple of stones skip down this chasm that you guys just feather fall down, and then just as you turn around another corner, you hear, Kesk will not suffer these ow, 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 oh, ow, ow, God. And you guys turn another corner.
Very proud.
And you guys turn another corner and get to another obstacle. You find yourself staring at an enormous boulder. You are in a very broad hallway. It is 20 feet by 20 feet. It is, again, covered in this green moss. And there is, at the end of this hall, an enormous stone. This gigantic boulder, almost perfectly shaped for this hall. And the edges of it are like lined in this green moss. It seems to almost fuse it to the stone of the cavern around it. And it just sits there like a plug, just stuck right into the cave in front of you. Sebastian comes to that hole. Oh, well, that's heavy. That looks very heavy. I don't. What now?
We stand there and look at it.
I just step back because I'm waiting for Hector to do his thing.
And what is Hector's thing?
We can try and brute force it. See if that works.
Cool. So you what? You go up to it and try to what?
Push it.
Try to push it?
Yep.
Awesome. Did anyone else want to help try to push it?
I suppose Zerback also helps, seeing as how there's a small one and a elf one.
I just want to make a quick side note that my pusher drag is 1,500 pounds.
Absolutely. And Hector's got 1,500 pounds. And Zerback, what's your pusher drag?
2,000.
Holy crow.
Mine's 575.
Ooh.
What's Sebastian's?
Let's not get into that. Don't talk about it.
12.
Don't talk about it. He's a bard. Bards don't need strength. That's a scientific fact. They don't need it.
But it'd be better if he did.
No, it's fine. He's good. He's a juice box for giant mosquitoes. He loves it. All right, so Hector and Zerback, you surge forward. I'm guessing getting a nice running start at this thing, and you guys try to shove this boulder with your massive barbarian and half-orc muscles. Roll me a couple of strength checks to try to shove this thing forward.
20.
20-something.
Wow, you guys!
23.
Wow, you guys really? Good gravy. I hate you guys so much. That's amazing. So yeah, you see a giant 20-foot tall, 20-foot wide boulder blocking your path.
That was probably a lever.
And the two of you rush forward, put your shoulders into it, and just strain all of your substantial muscle mass. And yeah, the moss around the edges of this boulder starts to give a little bit, and you fucking roll it like dung beetles. You just roll this giant boulder forward.
And once you get it going, that's just momentum.
Yeah, it scrapes against the walls of this cavern as you roll it ever forward. You make very slow progress. You're able to slowly lurch it, but it's not perfectly round, and this cavern isn't perfectly smooth, so it is not easy. And as you guys are moving this slowly, painstakingly straining your muscles to move it forward, the worst happens. The conflict behind you crashes into view at the end of this hallway. Gator and the dragon that apparently is named Kesk come smashing into view not 50 feet behind you. Kesk flashes its sinister eyes on the lot of you and again sucks in a huge breath and belches out a huge cloud of this gas which fills up the entire hallway. As it's roiling towards you, you hear Gator speak some magic words, and the stone of the cavern between you and these two fucking kaiju swells and warps and twists closed. in a solid wall between the two of you, blocking off this gas. But they are, boy, they're on their way. Roll me another strength check to try to move this thing forward.
18.
13 plus 5.
Hey, if I do a search check, can I see if there's a lever
18.
while they're doing this?
You can search for other stuff, absolutely. Yes, ma'am.
She finds the lever just right over
No,
there.
I got a 5.
It's really in plain sight.
You are unable to find any markings or any weird stuff.
Man, what an interesting cave.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a crazy hermit that lives like a giant alligator. This is probably just a fucking, probably just a door to them. Gator would have a problem moving this thing. So you guys keep moving this thing forward. You're not going as quickly as you were before, but you're still keeping that momentum going. You haven't hit any snags yet. The thin barrier of stone that Gator put up in front of you is smashed down almost immediately as Kesk just bum rushes Gator through it. Stone chips fly at your back, Rilla. None enough to do damage. But these guys are like 50 feet away and closing on you. Roll one more strength check to see if you can hurl this thing forward.
19.
Same thing. 18.
18. All right, yeah, that's good enough. You guys finally seeing this horror show behind you. Finally give one last huge push and hurl this giant boulder forward. And you thankfully feel a release of this horrible strain as this boulder drops suddenly into some sort of holder for it. You roll it forward and it boom, thuds boomingly into place in this hole in the tunnel, and you have a clear view of the chamber before you. There is a small waterfall that is flowing down the far side of this large circular chamber that you now see, and inside this chamber is a bunch of trappings of humanity, of civilization. It's very strange. It's a sharp juxtaposition to the entryway of this chamber. You see a couple chairs sitting next to a table. There's an old lantern. There is a wardrobe with a door open that's full of outfits, dresses and jackets and suits. You see a small cast iron stove that's just sort of crookedly sitting on a stone in this central platform that is ringed by water, and on a podium in the middle of this stone platform that is rising up out of the water that the waterfall's draining into in this chamber, you see what could only be a grimoire. It is a massive book that seems to be bound in some sort of dark metal with a few precious stones glittering on it. As soon as you throw that rock in and see all of this, Sebastian goes stock still, his eyes only on that book. His lips tremble, and you hear him say just under his voice, "Bound in iron, pages black, rubies all along its back, script of silver, razor thin, and heavier than mortal sin." He sort of shakes himself out of it and says, That's what we're looking for. That's it. That's the grimoire of the stricken."
Then stop talking and go grab
Yeah.
it.
Maybe stop yelling.
Yeah. We don't want the dragon to know that.
As you say that, as you chide him for his glee, the chamber shakes, the water splashes up around you, and you hear a savage roar behind you, and the two enormous figures battling through the hall that you just came down come into view once again, and Gator is trying to hold off this dragon. Gator's jaws are fully extended, taking up this entire tunnel, and it's just being shoved backwards. Its claws raking against the stone as it's shoved towards you folks, and it's getting closer and closer.
So, can we do stuff yet? We run. You run?
Yeah, you guys run to the center of the... Yeah, I mean, I'm waiting for you guys to jump in here. You're just looking at me.
As we're just looking at this, like
I don't want to.
Yep.
Well, I don't want to interrupt the narrative. Is all when you're describing shit. But like, also, Rilla would have started running as soon as there was a space to run into.
Sure,
I'm
yeah.
pretty
Well,
injured.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, this is the chamber. You guys go into the chamber. There's all this stuff. The bad guy, the two giant lizards are coming at you. What do you guys do?
Run straight for the grimoire.
Cool. You rush forward and get your mitts on it. Who's grabbing? So Hector runs straight for the grimoire. What do you guys do?
Ooh,
You're in a
I
circular
don't really
chamber
wanna
surrounded
touch
by
it.
water with the giant stone platform in the middle with all these trappings of civilization. It's a waterfall. What do you guys do? You just run straight for the grimoire, Hector?
I'm still holding Sebastian.
Absolutely.
Hey, could
So we are going for the
Nobody forget that he's still holding
could
Sebastian.
with spellcraft or Arcana, knowledge Arcana, would anything tell me like if we'd get injured touching this shit?
You can yeah, absolutely. Roll it up.
Which one?
Knowledge Arcana.
Okay.
Or actually spellcraft. I apologize. Spellcraft, see if there's
God,
any
I
active
rolled a
effects.
1.
Okay, well,
So that's a 4.
try the other one.
Yeah. Hey, look, a 20, of course. So 22 on my knowledge Arcana.
Okay, so you know that... You know from what you've gleaned from the small amount of magical guidance that your aunt had given you before she skedaddled, that grimoires were the most prized possessions of wizards when they still roamed the land. These books held all of their spells, all of their magical power was held within the charts and runes and graphs, and all the calculus of their magic was held within these pages. If they didn't have a spell book, they could not prepare and cast spells. So these were jealously guarded, incredibly important, and thus often terribly booby-trapped. Yes, there is... You know from experience that there's a very good chance that many of these are booby-trapped with some horrible hexes and curses.
Hey, if we touch that, we might get royally fucked up. These were super guarded. That's what I say.
Will the dragon be royally fucked up if he touches it?
Maybe, but if not, he would just have an ancient, incredibly powerful grimoire.
Okay then, and I continue towards the grimoire.
Oh.
Do you take it? You get... I mean, there is nothing in your guys' way. There's a fight coming up on you guys, but there's nothing in your way. Rilla gives you this warning. Sebastian looks a little queasy, but he's still got some hunger in his eyes. You walk up to the podium. The book is there. It is, just like Sebastian's little rhyme said.
I poke it with my stick.
All right, Zurabek, as Hector, that's exactly what you do. As Hector, with Sebastian tucked under his arm, approaches the podium, from behind you, the 10-foot pole, the Zurabek brand 10-foot pole, eases in from behind you, right over your shoulder, and the book gets a little poke. How substantial a poke? Are we 100%, 20%?
Was it floating there, or is it just on the podium?
It's on a podium. I didn't say it was floating.
Just not enough to knock it off, but enough to give it a good jostle.
You jostle it very well. You jostle. It is just like Sebastian's little nursery rhyme said. It is bound in black iron. Its pages are jet black, and there are a series of 3 rubies, large rubies set along its spine.
What a goth kid.
Zurabek. So it's very funny. Zurabek pokes it with a stick, and you jostle it, and you rock the whole podium back a little bit, and there is a small puff of black smoke that chars and blackens the end of your 10-foot pole. Now it's like a 9 3/4 foot pole, and that's it.
I poke it again.
Nothing happens this time.
Cool. I grab the book and I set Sebastian down, and I hand the book to him, and I say, "Put this in your magic bag."
You don't have to tell me twice. He stuffs it in there. This book is like 2 feet wide and it's very huge. So he has to like wrangle it into the opening, but eventually slams it in there. It's just as he gets this book into the bag that the entire entryway, your tunnel into this chamber, is completely filled with the now limp form of Gator skidding to a stop right at the edge, hanging halfway out of the tunnel, and the enormous head of Kesk looming over it, staring daggers at you all. Now that the appetizer's done, it's time for the main course.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to As the Dice Turns, the podcast after the podcast, where we take a deep dive into our player characters' psychology, their desires, their hopes, their fears, and see if we can't gain a deeper understanding of who they are as people. In this segment, we like to ask each of our player characters a question, sometimes personal, sometimes whimsical, always revealing, and see if we can't glean some truth about their inner selves. The question for our adventurers today is, why did you leave home? Each of our 3 player characters has been recruited into this epic quest to end the glyph purge by the bard Sebastian, but the question remains, why would they leave? Why leave the safety of the homes they've known their entire lives? Why venture out into the dangerous world? Why risk life and limb? Why would you leave home? That is the question we'll be asking to each of our adventurers. We're going to start this time with Rilla Longshadow. Rilla Longshadow, thank you for coming to the studio. We very much appreciate your time. I know you're so busy out there with that new book deal you got going. It's pretty crazy for you out there these days.
Just a bit.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate you stopping by the studio. Tell us, if you please, our listeners are dying to know, why did you leave home?
Well, I mean, honestly, I just kind of needed a break from all the attention. Now, that obviously wouldn't have been enough to get me out of the Springvale Forest. The elders would never have let me go if I'd argued that. But
Sure.
My goal out here, the thing I've been assigned to do by the elders, is to find my Aunt Arafin. She's a valuable enough person as an ancient elven wizard that it is worth risking a young sorcerer to find her and return her to the forest. But the honest answer is, someone finally asked me, and I was so glad.
That is fascinating. That's very interesting. So you left home not only to escape the ever-watchful eye of the elders of your clan, who are fascinated with your magical powers and have never given you a moment to yourself, but also to try to find your Aunt Arafin, who is an ancient elven wizard that left far before you did.
She's been gone for at least a decade. No one knows what happened to her. It is a great puzzle. Everyone is concerned. She still has some wizard spells remaining that she's never used.
Fascinating. She still has some spells saved up from when the glyph purge descended 1,000 years ago.
Yeah.
So that means she must have had uncast spells already memorized that she's been holding on to for
this
1,000
entire
years.
time. Yes.
Fascinating.
Yes.
Wow. Well, that is rather interesting. And I suppose I think you've mentioned before how you're hoping to one day get a chance to see her cast these spells of hers.
At least one.
Well, I wish you the best of luck in that endeavor. That is a fascinating insight into your psychology. I hope that you are content away from the prying eyes of your clan. And if you see your Aunt Arafin out there, please invite her to come to the studio. She sounds like a fascinating character.
Indeed.
All right. Well, that's Real Longshadow. Hector, the gatekeeper, keeper of the gates.
thank you so much for stopping by.
Thank you for having me.
It's our pleasure. It's our pleasure as always, Hector. So the question stands, Hector the Gatekeeper, why did you leave your homeland?
Well, first of all, can I just say that kilt you are wearing is dashing.
I am so glad you brought that up. This was sort of a bold move for me. I'm sort of stepping outside my comfort zone, and it's coming off quite nicely. Thank you very much for noticing.
Anyway, back to me.
Yes, indeed. The reason we're all here.
My reasoning is fairly simple. I'm a simple man. I love a good story. My whole life, bards came through the gates. We escorted them. They told stories, and I always enjoyed hearing them. But I felt those stories were missing one thing.
And what would that be, Hector?
Hector, the gatekeeper.
Of course, everyone's favorite son of the Gatekeeper clan. So you left home to be the protagonist of your very own tale, well, series of tales, most likely.
Hopefully.
Well, that is quite a lofty aspiration. I am sure that you'll have ample opportunity in trying to end the greatest curse that the land of Miosha has ever faced to inspire some tales.
I'm sure a few people might want to tell that tale.
Well, if I were you, I would take advantage of the barge you're traveling with and make sure that they're getting your good side.
Oh, he will.
Hector, it's a pleasure as always to talk to you and your ego, which I see you've put in its own chair, which is a fun thing. So Zurabak the Druid, thank you for dragging yourselves out of the just fetid bogs that you normally reside in to stop by the studio. Again, we appreciate you subjecting yourself to all of these lights and furniture and people and recording equipment. How are you today?
I brought my own chair.
I see that. It's a rotting log. And there's some worms still eating it. That's great. It's rustic. I love it. Whatever makes you comfortable. Sure, we want you to be at ease here. So Zurabak, the Druid, what made you leave your homeland?
Well, this little man said he needed me. And I'm like, okay. And then he said, oh, I need you to take me there. So I take him to Bramble. Then I took him to the boneyard. And then he bamboozled me.
Oh, really? He betrayed you?
He got on Trapjaw's side.
Ah, of course. He weaseled his way into the good graces of the leader of your druid circle. So you're saying that you left home because basically the leader of your druid circle, Trapjaw, made you? Am I understanding that correctly?
Yes.
Right. Well, I can understand how that might be frustrating. I'm sure you harbor no resentments against the bard Sebastian for thrusting you out into the world like that. Okay, well, that's going to do it for us on this episode of As the Dice Turns. Sharon and I would like to thank you all for listening to this little segment of ours. We take a lot of pride in it. And until next time, keep those dice turning.